The QR code results show that a majority of Freedom students think that water is wet. Let's hear some of their responses.
The water molecules are connected to each other, which means that water is wet.
To me, water makes things wet, like how hot sauce makes food spicy.
It's wet. I don't know why.
Because it is.
Hello, Freedom Eagles. It is now time to get our scientific perspective on, is water truly wet? So, Mr. Thorin, please give us your insight.
What do you mean by wet? I don't. If this is a scientific answer, then we need to establish a scientific definition about what we mean when we say wet so that I can give you an answer.
We'll get back to you.
So what was your definition? Which one are you going with? I heard a few of them. Which one?
Water is the involvement of the use of liquid.
Hi.
Okay, so water is the involvement of liquids and, water.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Water is a liquid.
Yes.
So what makes something wet? Like, what does that mean?
If you touch it and, the substance has residue on your hand and it's in a state of matter called a liquid.
So that means the thing was wet or that you are wet?
I am not wet, whatever I touched. But the thing is also wet.
Because you made contact with the water.
Yes.
So the question you're asking me is water in contact with other liquids or other water, right? Because that's our definition. Mm-hmm. You touch something that's a liquid, that makes you wet. So is water touching something that's also a liquid, does that make it wet? So that's what you're asking me. Is it in contact with another liquid, therefore making it wet?
Sure.
Okay. When you say water, do you mean just liquid water? Do you mean water vapor? Do you mean ice? What do you mean by water?
Specifically just liquid water.
Liquid water. Do you mean like a puddle or do you mean like a water molecule?
Water molecule.
Okay. So, if your definition is water is, or being wet is touching something that is a liquid, and you pick one water molecule in a puddle, that puddle has to be in contact, even though nothing's ever really in contact and you never touch anything, but that's a separate thing. But that water molecule would be in contact with the other water molecules in the puddle. So by the definition that you've put forward of it touching a liquid, that water molecule would be touching a liquid, so that water molecule would be wet.
You hear that, everybody? Water is wet.
Well.
The Wi-Fi quality causes challenges to complete work sometimes, especially most of the time when I'm about to take a test. Usually the Wi-Fi always acts up. When I'm taking a test in class and everyone's taking the test at the same time and the Wi-Fi starts acting up, it's very hard for us to actually finish the test on time when the teachers want us to finish it. I usually just try to switch Wi-Fis, but sometimes it doesn't even work.
How does the Wi-Fi affect you in the library?
I think it's okay.
Where are you located?
I'm in the learning cottages.
And how is the Wi-Fi quality there?
It's not the best because when we're doing Kahoots or some other activity like that, it's always really slow.
I think I only notice the Wi-Fi if it's not working. So I think I probably take it for granted that it is working, but if it has a negative impact, it's when it is not working at a crucial moment when I planned a lesson or an assessment that requires its use. So because the Wi-Fi is somewhat unpredictable at times, this year I've rarely provided for online assessments. It's mostly been paper or some other way of doing that, so that I'm planning ahead that the Wi-Fi might not work and we won't run into that issue. So kind of going old school with paper, which is not good for the environment, but I guess it alleviates the Wi-Fi issue if it does pop up. I think you have to take a deep breath and realize that all the effort that you put into a lesson or assessment might fly out the window, and you have to come up with a different strategy, which is very frustrating, but it also is an opportunity to, from looking for the bright side, it's an opportunity to model what happens in life when something that we put effort into and planned doesn't work out. Can model that for the students in those moments.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sports Report with me, your host, Leo Amwa. Finally, and I'm back and I'm very happy to be here. Today I'll be covering college football, the NFL playoffs, Premier League, and Freedom Athletics. So to get started, in college football, the Georgia Bulldogs have won the national championship for the second year in a row. They won in a landslide win against TCU, 65-7. And with that win, they become only the 8th team ever to win back-to-back national championships in college football. In the NFL, we're in my favorite time of the year, Wild Card Weekend. The weekend starts tomorrow, where we have the 49ers versus the Seahawks and the Chargers versus the Jaguars, who somehow made it to the playoffs for the first time in 5 years. On Sunday, we have the Bills versus the Dolphins at 1. We have the Vikings versus the Giants at 4. And we have the Ravens versus the Bengals at 8. Finally, on Monday Night Football, we have the Cowboys versus the Buccaneers. Moving back to the Ravens game, I really have little hope for this Ravens team. Their wide receiver core is really bad. Lamar Jackson is not 100% healthy, and without him, they're easily getting eliminated by the Cincinnati Bengals. Moving on to Premier League, my game of the weekend is Manchester City versus Manchester United. Both teams are looking better, and Manchester United is looking significantly better than they were at the beginning of the season, but I'm going to say City will win this game 2-1. Now in Freedom Athletics, today both the varsity teams are in action at Champ. Tip-off for the boys game is at 6 o'clock and tip-off for the girls is at 7:30. Tomorrow wrestling has duels here at 9 a.m. and swimming has a meet against Unity Reed at 6 p.m. Shout out to Josh Johnson for breaking the school's 55-meter dash record with a time of 6.72 seconds. I think I have a recording of this, so I'll put it up now. Anyways, that is all for this episode of the Sports Report. Have a great day, Eagles.